America, where everyone has a voice, but too many fail to speak. Too many don't know the foundation of our nation, have never read the Constitution, the Bill of Rights, or the Articles of Confederation, and fail to end up in a voting booth. It's time for change. Welcome to the Voice of Young America with Justin Austin, a platform for young America to voice their ideals and have meaningful dialogue on politics, economics, and social issues. Connect at thevoiceofyoungamerica.org. Now, the host of the Voice of Young America, Justin Austin.
Welcome to the Voice of Young America. I'm your star host, Justin Austin, and thank you guys for tuning in to another week. And as always, thank God for allowing us to do these things that's on our heart. We want to get started today with who respects the founding documents. When I say the founding documents, you have the Articles of Confederation, you have the Declaration of Independence, you have the Constitution, and the Federalist Papers. You have a lot to go off of. But the reason why is that I think about, you know, what went through the minds of James Madison or Thomas Jefferson or George Washington or these other individuals that were putting together these documents that represented the hearts, minds, and spirits of Americans at the time. And if you look at it, what they did was you have to understand these guys were very, very well bred in the sense of, you know, they read Montesquieu, they read Aristotle, they read Plato, they read Hobbes, and they knew the machinations of previous civilizations and what they were predicated on and what worked and what not. These guys didn't just wake up one day and of course, people, let's acknowledge the hypocrisy. Of course, there was hypocrisy there. When you read the Declaration of Independence, it states that all men were created equal. Obviously, they truly didn't feel that way. They wouldn't have had slaves. So, I mean, let's identify the hypocrisy, but let's move beyond that. So, with that being said, these gentlemen were well-versed, well-read in history, political history, and what made civilizations run, what made them powerful, what made them weak. These are things that they studied, that they understood. They looked at what history has shown you. And if you look at it, it said that dictatorships, monarchies cannot be trusted because the hearts of man can't be trusted. So the only reason that America wasn't a dictatorship or monarchy or however you want to put it, or oligarchy, and things of that nature, the only reason is because the hearts of man can't be trusted. And this was something that they identified. Now, the greatest form of leadership, if you look at any true philosophy, it will tell you that a benign dictatorship is the greatest form of leadership. If you had one man who actually had the best intentions and the best heart for all men, like King Solomon or King David, you would say that that's the best form of leadership. A man who is under God with the heart for the people, with the spirit that serves the Lord. That's the best form of leadership. But to find that man and for him to be the same way over the years is very hard. Most men are corrupted, and don't want to go on a tangent, but peep this though. It says that if you want to see the character of a man, 3 things will show character: power, access to sex, and money. People say that money corrupts. Money doesn't corrupt. Money gives people an opportunity to show what their character is. So if you want to know what someone's character truly is, power, access to sex and money, that is what shows character. And most of the time when a lot of guys get the position of power, what they do is that they abuse it, and and you see that in their character. But anywho, so they study history and they said, you know what, the best form of leadership is a benign dictatorship, but most likely to actually achieve a benign dictatorship, that won't even just happen. I mean, King David, King Solomon, all those good guys, long gone, long gone. So it won't be repeated. With that said, what's the next step? So they said system of laws. System of laws would be the best form of leadership, because that means that no matter who the person is in charge, whether it's a group of people, whether it's one individual, whatever the case may be, these group of laws will hold everybody to the same level of accountability. And not on top of the group of laws, what they did was the separation of power, where you have the judicial, the executive, and then you have the legislative. You have these things, so you not only have a body of laws that protects every single person, you also have this balance between the balance of power between three branches. Now, this was revolutionary. Was this done? Yes, previously in history, but not on the same scale, not in the same way. These guys were very bright. I don't think that it's in schools, it's not taught the level of intellect that went into planning America. The level of, people don't respect the struggle that people actually went through. You didn't type up on Google and, what best form of government should we have? You didn't have that. So you didn't even just go into a library and say, let me see which books has the best form of, you didn't have that. These guys were well-learned gentlemen. They were very well-learned. They were very cultural. They were very worldly. They were cultivated in wisdom and understanding, at least when it came to civilizations and societies and what was best for people. When you read their writings, even their personal writings to one another that have been captured, it's amazing. It's really amazing when you see the effort that was put in and the heart that was in these men. But you have to actually have to care about those things for you to respect it. It's not taught in school how special these gentlemen were. These guys who sat at the table and put together this thing called America. It's not respected. We started off the show saying who respects the founding documents. Educational leaders don't respect the founding documents. So how can children respect the founding documents? If your teacher just tells you, we're going to talk about the Constitution today, but they don't give you the background, if they don't tell you about what type of education these gentlemen had to even come up with this document. I've never had a discussion with any professor, any teacher, when conversing on these founding documents in the beginning of America, for them to even acknowledge what it took. How many guys today that went to Harvard and Yale could put together a constitution for a country? No. Now, some of them do. Now, you have some of these guys that will go to some of these third world countries and they will work with their leaders to put together new laws and whatnot. But on the same scale, nah. You got to remember, too, when the Ivy Leagues were started back in the day, they were producing more ministers than they produced anything else. But I digress. So the founding documents, who respects them? If educational leaders don't respect what the environment or the education of those who put together these documents, they can't really express to their students what the founding documents actually mean. You actually have to understand the context in which it was written for you to even appreciate what it means. So anywho, they looked at dictatorships. They looked at monarchies, which eventually would go into a dictatorship. They was like, no. They said this body of laws is going to protect everyone. They also said that the separation of powers is going to protect everyone too, and have a balance so you can never fall back into that monarchy type of situation. And if you look, George Washington, they wanted to make him king. He was going to be King George. You know what I mean? And talking about a humble spirit. How many men today? Like, just be honest. If somebody went up to Trump today and said, "Hey, you want to be King Trump?" What do you think would happen? If somebody went up to Barack Obama and they were like, "Hey, do you want to be King Obama?" Do you think these guys would really turn it down? How many guys, if somebody went up to Trump and said, "You know what? We want you to serve for life," do you think Trump would say no? If they offered Obama a third term, do you think? No. George was so humble in spirit. First of all, he didn't want the first term, let alone the second term, and he told him, no, I would not do the third term. Because this thing called America is too great. He wanted to be alive to see the transition of power between presidents, because these things are important. From him to go from being president and transfer that power to Mr. Adams, that was a huge deal, because that will then give perpetuity a blueprint for how things are supposed to be done. This stuff is so deep. Like, no one really talks about the context of what was going on when these documents were written. So you fast forward to the day, and people, say that the Constitution is an antiquated document. People disrespect the Bible like that. And let me tell you something. I heard the only thing I probably would ever respect that came out of Steve Harvey's mouth the other day. And he said, every self-help book are pieces of scripture that people took out of the Bible and expanded on because most people don't know how or don't care to read or study the Bible. He said most self-help books are just proverbs written out in plain terms, which is so true. It is. I mean, that's the case. But if you look at what was going on, and then you look at now today, and these kids like, oh, it's an antiquated document, doesn't apply today. Yes, it does. It so applies today. But you know why it's hard for people to understand the application? Because the whole premise of America, of the Constitution, Declaration of Independence, the reason why there was such friction between people saying, let's create this union or let's stay as separate states. I mean, the letter from the farmer, I read that the other day, which is a part of the Feller's Papers. That's just amazing. The guy was talking about the different options that we could do, and of course, they said the best form of government for America would be to have this federal government have so much power, and then have the states have so much power. But since, we plan to grow, we plan to expand, we have to have a framework that the union, the overall federal government, needs to have such powers to be able to handle the expansion. People have to realize is that once you create something, you always have to understand or have expectation that this thing will expand. If you do not create a framework for something to expand, that means that you're just asking for trouble. It's gonna implode. And so that was the case. But people say it's an antiquated document. It's not. It's so appropriate. But the reason why people struggle with the Constitution and all these other things, you know why? It's because the whole premise was the American people have to stay vigilant. That means that you actually have to care. Beyond, you got to remember, they didn't have Kim Kardashian telling you that if you had sex with a famous person, you could be famous too and you don't have to work. They didn't have distractions like kneeling during the NFL anthem, which, like that's how you feel about it is how you feel about it. But you didn't have all these things. You didn't have Top Chef. You didn't have 16 and Pregnant. You didn't have all this stuff that's a distraction. So people actually gave a darn about things that went on in their community. People don't give a darn now. If I can, this is the average American. Let me tell you right now, I'm talking about you. What you care about is what I'm having for dinner, what's on TV, is my wife nagging me, are my kids in jail? If those things, like if you have the answers to those things, you're fine. You're fine. You don't care about the interest rate on home loans right now. But the farmer did. I digress. The problem is that the people don't care about the founding documents because the people really don't care about America. They care about themselves. And the thing that is supposed to protect this country is the least respected. The thing that protects you as an American, you don't even respect and put time into. Okay, Justin, you're saying a lot of stuff. We're about to go to commercial break. So let's check this out. If you're listening to the show, I want you to turn to your neighbor whenever, if you have him in front of you now, if you see him at work or whatever the case may be, and you ask him to give you 3 points from the Constitution. Constitution is big. That shouldn't be hard. Ask them to give you 3 points from the Constitution and why it matters to America. And if they can't do that, it just proved my point. Americans don't care about America. Americans care about themselves. But they really don't. Because if you cared about yourself, you care about America, because America was built for you to actually be great. The only way we become great again is for people to realize that life is more than themselves, even more than their family. It's not very hard. Love God first, love your neighbor like yourself, and you will follow all the commandments I have put forth before you. My name is Justin Austin. It's the Voice of Young America. We'll be right back. Thank you, folks.
You're listening to the Voice of Young America with Justin Austin. Connect with Justin online at thevoiceofyoungamerica.org. The Voice of Young America on AM 860. The Answer.
Finding skilled and unskilled tradesmen can be a problem, whether it's temporary or long-term. Rose Employment Solutions handles all of your workers' comp needs while responsibly solving your staffing problems. You make the call, they do it all. 813-644-5037. And for the quality tradesmen in search of career growth, full-time hours, and multiple pay options, call Rose Employment Solutions, 813-644-5037. Learn more at rose-emp.com or just stop by their office, 1020 West Bush Boulevard in Tampa.
Ladies of Tampa Bay, are you looking for a whole new hairstyle or just want to take your current look from good to glamorous? It's time to call Tiffany. Whether it's highlights, cut, color, curls, or a wedding or special occasion, Tiffany will make your mess a masterpiece. And don't worry, guys, she does men's cuts too. Tiffany's located in North St. Pete. For an appointment, click on tiffdoeshair.com. That's tiffdoeshair.com or call 727-280-3098. tiffdoeshair.com. Maybe you forgot to pack a lunch or you're just in need of a quick bite. Grab one of Olivia's fresh sandwiches. Try the turkey, ham, Cuban sandwiches, or maybe a delicious breakfast sandwich. Made fresh with quality meats, Olivia's fresh sandwiches can be found at your local gas station or food mart. Need catering for your next meeting or event? Call Olivia's Fresh Sandwiches at 813-516-6851. That's 813-516-6851. Olivia's Fresh Sandwiches, online at oliviasfreshsandwiches.com.
Welcome back to the Voice of Young America with Justin Austin. Connect with Justin by email, thevoyatampabay@gmail.com.
Welcome back to the Voice of Young America. I'm your star host, Justin Austin. Let's get into our next section. But first, let's do the moment of truth. And the moment of truth is, our society is not set up for the strong to win. Our society is set up for the weak not to sink. What do I mean? Check out the blog, thevoiceofyoungamerica.org. The answer is always there. Check out our magazine. Check out our app. Everything is there. Let's go to our next section, which is Google's stronghold on business. Well, we discussed this a couple months ago about the influence of social media. And we were talking about the influence of social media on politics, economics, and social issues. And I was looking at the most recent issue of Forbes magazine, and I urge everyone, if you actually want to wake up, just wake up, at least economically, read Forbes, get a Forbes subscription to the website, get the Forbes subscription, at least get the magazine. It's not very expensive. They do make it affordable for a lot of people. I'm not a rich man, but I do invest into that. It's important to me. And they were looking at the most valuable brands in the world. Number one was Apple. Number two was Google. And just to look at what the impact is, if they did the top 10, and it was Apple, Google, Facebook, it was Toyota, Coca-Cola, Microsoft, and I think I forgot the other three. But anywho, if you look at it, it was mostly out of the top 10, 6 or 7 were actually internet companies and tech companies, however you want to put it. And if you look at what Google is doing, right? And like I said, we discussed this before, but the emphasis is so crazy. When you look at search engine optimization, this is one of the advantages of those who are informed with a decent pocketbook. This is how they get in front of everybody else. But I will say this. The internet is amazing because it's not only money that will put you ahead of your competition. Hard work, ingenuity, innovation, these things still matter. Okay, let me put it like this. Money is important in this world. It's very important in this world because that's the way the world has been set up. The God of the world is money. Let's be completely honest. Not of my world, but the world. The God of the world. And when I say that means is how people set up their companies, how people set up their lives. They live to serve the almighty dollar. Now, we know who the God of the world is. His name is Jesus Christ. He already came. His father's, our father. So we already know this. But the God that the economy has set itself up for is money. So let's realize that. It's important. But you know what's more important than money? value. Value is more important than money. What's more important than money? Hard work, consistency, perseverance. Money can be an attachment to those things. But put any dollar anywhere, put a dollar somewhere that doesn't have value, you won't have that dollar for very long. Put the dollar somewhere that doesn't have perseverance, you won't be there for very long. Put the dollar somewhere that doesn't have consistency, won't be there. Look at Venezuela right now. They're saying, once again, read Forbes magazine. Steve Forbes, the editor, he wrote this. He always writes something. In the beginning of the magazine, he was talking about the Venezuelans need to switch to the almighty dollar because their currency just keeps getting depreciated with all these bad regimes they have in the presidency. But anywho, so we're talking about Google's stronghold on business. When I say stronghold, they make it for an opportunity that anybody with hard work, consistency, and perseverance can be on the same par with any other company. But if you are a small business, how much time do you have to devote to SEO? How much time do you really have to devote to search engine optimization? You probably don't have that much time. You don't have much time to keep reconfiguring your website. So that's the tough part, because these bigger companies, they have the pocketbooks to pay people who have made that their specialty. Google has such a strong hold where, and let me take it back. How did Google become powerful? Well, first of all, Yahoo shot himself in the foot. Yahoo just shot itself in the foot with poor management. They had great ideas in the beginning, but they didn't make the certain transformations. When Google was ahead of the curve, when it was when the internet was developing more and more, Google took the time to go with the curves or buy out a small competitor or whatever the case may be. Yahoo didn't do those things that were necessary, because you got to remember, Yahoo had an advantage over Google, and then Google made the adjustments. Yahoo didn't. Now Yahoo is dying. Well, actually, Yahoo got bought up. I think bought up by Microsoft. Microsoft's Bing actually powers Yahoo, and so the real competition is actually between Google and Bing. Yahoo is just still there because of name recognition. But the reason that Google is powerful beyond the fact that Yahoo dropped the ball, and you guys remember Ask Jeeves? Now, it depends on what generation you're in. Ask Jeeves used to be the man too, but it didn't work very long. The laziness or the convenience factor. The laziness of Americans or their search for convenience make Google everything. If you notice that this is how lazy Americans are. They created this thing called Google It. It's a new term. It's been around for a while now, but hey man, do you know da-da-da? Nope. Google it. Now, it's not something like, do you know the gross domestic product of chili? Okay, that's cool. Google it. Hey man, do you know what 1 + 1 is? Google it. Oh man, it's 2. See, that's how it became that way. Because people didn't, I understand you don't look at encyclopedias anymore. People don't look at almanacs anymore. You have Google, right? You know, who needs an almanac? Because people don't like to read books anyway. So that just helps them out. But Google became such a powerful force in society first because the laziness of Americans. Point blank period. And I'm pretty sure across the world that happened too. But the laziness of Americans made Google such a household product to the point where you don't say look it up or research it. You say what? Google it. And what happens when you Google something? It gives you everything you need to know about something. People think that's pretty cool. I think it's cool to a certain degree. That's just me, because I just like to keep learning. If something is always there to make and just to give me everything I need, at what point does someone say, you know what? I know they're going to look here, so why don't I put the information that I want? Does anyone ever think about that? Okay. But let's go to business, right? So if you are a small business and no one knows about you, you create your own website. Boom, you created a website, Bob's Tires. Now you want people to buy your tires, right? But how do people know about Bob's Tires? Well, you can have the organic thing where you tell your friends and family, they tell people, word of mouth. You can go around passing out flyers. Hey, Bob's Tires, Bob's Tires, Bob's Tires. Or you can do this thing called Google. You can create a Google ad, And boom, now people can see your Bob's Tires when they search for tires. Or on top of Google, you can set your website up so Google has this thing called crawlers. So they crawl through the internet every time you look for something, and they'll look for tires, and then tires in Tampa or whatever. And then if it's an organic search, somehow they'll come up with Bob's Tires. And then that became really explosive. Like when people were saying, well, Google, this is how they search for results, and then I want my company to come up first. So they started looking at what Google did, and then they'd start doing the inverse. So now you have companies that are set up to do the inverse of what Google does to make sure that their company gets the right exposure. And we know most Americans, how many people listening right now go to page 2 of search results? Okay. Now, how many people go to actually page 3 of search results? Exactly. You don't get past the first page. Matter of fact, Google knows that so much that if you look at it, they've even shortened how many results you get on the first page. If you looked at Google even 6 months to 6 years ago, Google would give you about 12 to 15, even 20 search results per page. Now it's less than 10, I believe. And then not only that, they give you some extra menu within there. And Google has it on lock. Google knows human behavior. Human behavior dictates that whatever is the most convenient in the shortest amount of time is what people will do. People will not go past the first page. Even if they put if Google went from 10 to 5 results right now, most people still wouldn't go past the first page. Even if it didn't even match their needs completely, they still won't go past the first page. So with that being said, businesses have been structured around this whole premise. Most people use Google to look up what they want. Google has said, okay, we are the dominant leader of information providing. That's just what it is. People, besides, you got Facebook, you got Google. You want to know about people, you got Facebook. You want to know about anything else, you got Google. So this is just what it's become. So if you know that Google is the information powerhouse, and then, you know, if you're looking for a business or whatever, because you got to understand, it's not just, they got Google Maps. You know, people don't use Map. Remember MapQuest was the dominant force? When the last time somebody used MapQuest? Don't worry, I'll wait. You have Google Maps. I don't even know of another map used, to be honest, besides MapQuest, and I know they have an app, I've never used it before, but besides Google, like Google Maps, I don't even know of a different type of app or site that I could use to actually find a place. And every Android phone, if it's not Windows, if it's not a Windows phone, it has Google Maps on it. Google has it locked down. That's just what it is. So with that being said, Google has taken over the map game. They've taken over the information providing game. So when people know this, what do? If I know that most people will use Google and I want exposure, that means that I'm going to conform to whatever Google does, because I want to be on the platform where everybody else is going to be. So with that being said, Google dictates the way that people operate their business. From small companies to large companies. Because, once again, if I want to be on Google's platform, I have to do certain things with my marketing. And the way that I market, of course, it affects my business, it affects my sales, it affects my operations. Of course, this wasn't Google's intention. I'm pretty sure Sergey didn't say one day we want to control the way that people do business in the sense of how they do their operations or marketing. They might have said, you know what, we want to help people out and give them more exposure. But it's exploded to so much that people literally conform their business to Google standards. Some people, they create their business predicated on Google standards. This is no small feat. If Google went down today, how many businesses could survive? Think about it just like that. If Google went down today, how many businesses could survive? Actually, how many Americans would go crazy because they can't Google something? I use dictionary.com. I search more word definitions than I do anything. to be honest with you. This is our reality. And no one woke up and said, I want to make Google that powerful. No business said, I want to make Google that powerful. But that's the way it's become. And this is no lie. 3 companies, if they disappeared today, what would people do? If Apple, Google, and Facebook disappeared today, how many people would go crazy? How many businesses would just die? Is that a good thing or a bad thing? 3 companies. 3 tech companies. And they would crash the economy if they no longer existed. This America is not by accident. This is years of planning and years of laziness, years of stupidity, years of immediate gratification. Our economy is based off, the world economy is based off 3 companies. Of course, there's a lot that more goes into it, Justin. You're trying to generalize and simplify, but I'm not lying. Apple, Facebook, Google. If they died today, your business would die. Most of the people that worldly social lives would die too. And who would you be? This is the Voice of Young America. I'm Justin Austin. We're going to keep giving it to you raw. We'll be right back.
You're listening to the Voice of Young America with Justin Austin. Connect with Justin online at thevoiceofyoungamerica.org. The Voice of Young America on AM 860. The Answer.
Ladies of Tampa Bay, are you looking for a whole new hairstyle or just want to take your current look from good to glamorous? It's time to call Tiffany. Whether it's highlights, cut, color, curls, or a wedding or special occasion, Tiffany will make your mess a masterpiece. And don't worry, guys, she does men's cuts too. Tiffany's located in North St. Pete. For an appointment, click on tiffdoeshair.com. That's tiffdoeshair.com or call 727-280-3098. tiffdoeshair.com. Maybe you forgot to pack a lunch or you're just in need of a quick bite. Grab one of Olivia's fresh sandwiches. Try the turkey, ham, Cuban sandwiches, or maybe a delicious breakfast sandwich. Made fresh with quality meats, Olivia's fresh sandwiches can be found at your local gas station or food mart. Need catering for your next meeting or event? Call Olivia's Fresh Sandwiches at 813-516-6851. That's 813-516-6851. Olivia's Fresh Sandwiches. Online at oliviasfreshsandwiches.com.
Finding skilled and unskilled tradesmen can be a problem, whether it's temporary or long-term. Rose Employment Solutions handles all of your workers' comp needs while responsibly solving your staffing problems. You make the call, they do it all. 813-644-5037. And for the quality tradesmen in search of career growth, full-time hours, and multiple pay options, call Rose Employment Solutions, 813-644-5037. Learn more at rose-emp.com or just stop by their office, 1020 West Bush Boulevard in Tampa.
Welcome back to the Voice of Young America with Justin Austin. Connect with Justin by phone. Call 813-516-6851. 813-516-6851.
Welcome back to the Voice of Young America. I'm your star host, Justin Austin. Thank you guys for continuing to just listen to us, check in with us, and see how we're vibing over here. There's a lot been going on lately, not just in the world, but with your star host here. And God's put it on my heart to do a transformation and focus on what I believe his vision is for my life. And we'll be winding down the Voice of Young America. This will be the first of the last 4 episodes of the Voice of Young America on air. We will continue on podcast, trimming down the show somewhat. But we're going to change over into make fathers great again, and which is not just focused on fathers, but all men and their spiritual walk and how they are developing as men, developing as leaders, developing as fathers, developing as mates, husbands, partners. This is huge. And to kind of give you an understanding of where I come from and just to share with you is Malachi 4, verse 5 and 6. Behold, I will send you Elijah the prophet before the coming of the great and dreadful day of the Lord. And he shall turn the heart of the fathers to the children, and the heart of the children to their fathers, lest I come and smite the earth with a curse. And that's the big thing for me, is to turn the hearts of men back to their children and turn the hearts of children back to their fathers. The other day I seen I think she was about 11 to 12-year-old girl with what they call booty shorts on, right? And she was with her mother and her father. Now I see it more so when girls are with their mothers. But to me, if you are a father and you allow your daughter to present herself in that fashion, that says a lot about your character. It's no man who has a daughter and she wears revealing clothing and he can say he's a good man, or he has character. Because if you have character, that spills over into the way you raise your children. And not only that, that girl doesn't have a job. She doesn't have any form of income. So she cannot purchase anything herself. She either has to get money from her parents, or her parents have to purchase her clothing. Enough said, right? Okay. Just wanted to make sure everybody was on the same page. But for fathers to just keep taking more of a backseat role, and to society, to social media, to the government, to the woman, all these things, this is the plague that the devil is using and that the world is using to destroy our families. And I'm not saying it's people sitting in the dark room saying, how can we destroy the family? I'm not going to say that. I'm not going to say this is some kind of huge conspiracy. I'm going to say the devil is real. I'm going to say God loves us. But I'm going to say that fathers are failing. I'm going to say that if you had a horrible father, if your father wasn't there, that doesn't mean you have an excuse to be that type of guy. No excuse. You know how many fathers right now are absent who had absent fathers themselves? I heard something the other day is dad is destiny. That where a young man, where he views his father, that gives him the inspiration to be. And just think about the guys who had no father, who become an absent father themselves. They look at it, well, my dad wasn't there for me. I turned out okay. Really? You think you turned out okay? How did you turn out okay and you're not there for your child? How could that be okay? So the whole point of it is that we want to focus on building up the man, not just in the home, but building up the young man, building up the middle-aged man, building up the older man by his walk with Christ, and making that his focus. Because of course politics is very important. Of course economics is very important. But where does it start? It starts with the man's spiritual walk. You hold all things up to the light of Christ. That's how you find out where truth is. And we want to help men hold things up to the light of Christ. Hold their lives up to the light of Christ. Hold their principles and values up to the light of Christ. Hold their relationships up to the light of Christ, and step up and be that man for themselves as individuals, for their children, for their mates. This is what America needs. This is where my focus is. This is where my spirit is. This is where I feel God's calling me to do. There's nothing more important than leadership. That's why Christ was perfect, right? Christ gives us the ultimate example of what we should be. Leadership is being an example. It is being an example. So Christ was the perfect example. And men need to be the example in their homes. Men need to be examples on their jobs. Men need to be examples in the churches. And this cannot be a secondary issue. We can't say that, oh, we have a male issue in America and then not focus on it. There's a lot of programs out there that for some reason their mission statement likes to say that their focus is on, building up families. But nowhere are they building up the man. How can you build a family without building up its leader? That doesn't make sense. So, once again, this is the first episode of 4 that we're going to be winding down the VOYA on the radio. We'll still do the podcast, but we're going to transition into making fathers great again full time, from programming to men's groups to some ministry to events to whatever and wherever God takes us. And that's just something that's just very huge for me. I think it's huge for the country. It's not spoken of, but the greatest example is this, right? Look at look at most major companies, right? I'm just going to give you that example. Look at most major companies. Who started 98% of all successful companies in the world? Don't worry, I'll wait. The biggest company in the world is Walmart. Who started it? Sam Walton. The second largest private company in America is owned by the Koch brothers. Who started it? Apple. Who started it? Google. Who started it? Facebook. Who started it? Fathers. And this is not to knock women. This is what it is. We can keep saying, oh, women's rights and women are equal. Tell me, how does that serve anything? You can go burn a bra if you want to. What is that? How is that serving your son? You burning the bra is about your pride. It has nothing to do with your children being great. None at all. The millionaire next door, most likely a strong father. This is the way it is. It's the blueprint that God gave us. The same thing in the wild. When we're talking about the lion and the lioness, it's the same way. This blueprint has been there for the longest. In business, in politics, in society, in the church, in the community, in the home. The reason that we are being plagued is not that we don't have enough strong women. No one can walk around in America and say, oh man, we're lacking strong women. We have a lack of women with vision. We have a lack of women with integrity. Well, no, that might be an issue, but we're not lacking females who are hard workers and doing things. We're not lacking that. That's not the problem. If you go to any church, there is most likely a 60-40 imbalance with more women than men in the church. If you go to any school, most likely in school system, more likely 65-70 to 35-40. Well, 35-30. I did that wrong, people. But yeah, there's an imbalance. We're not lacking enough women. So if someone tells you, Justin, you're not pointing out the women are there. The women are there. They're being mothers. They're being hard workers. They're being producers. They are there. No one is knocking them because they are there. So if we are facing a plague in so many different areas and we have enough women, what is that telling you? If you have all these men in prison and they come from single parent homes with women, what is that telling you? No. I want you guys to know I am listening. I will wait for a response because people are overlooking the obvious. We have enough women doing enough things, but we're not getting results. Not because women are too weak or they're just not enough because that's not the blueprint. The blueprint doesn't say men hang out here, do nothing, women work very hard, and the world will be successful. That's not the blueprint. It just told you. God said he's going to turn the hearts of fathers back to their children. He's going to turn children's hearts back to their fathers. Women are already there. And for the women that are lost, oh man, once the man comes back, there's going to be no such thing as a lost woman. The only reason a woman is lost because the man did it wrong. It's because the man, he never showed her that. Oh man, it's going to be such a blessed thing. That's where my focus is. God has put that on my heart for that to be the focus. That everything will fall into place once men turn their hearts back to God first and then back to their families. That's it. One of the most profound things I've heard recently was when someone says, I love you. It's easy for people to say, oh, I love you too. But how about if we were to say, do you love yourself? Christ tells us to do unto others as we would want them to do unto ourselves. Love others as you love yourself. Actually, that's more correct. Love others as you love yourself. So if people are loving, you ever thought that your mate or that person that you're having conflict with is actually loving you as much as they love themselves? Do people actually even consider that, right? A man may love a woman just as much as he loves himself. So how much does that man actually love himself? He doesn't read his scripture. He doesn't exercise. He doesn't work hard. He doesn't build up his intellect. So how can you say he loves himself? Like, I can't say I love my body very much because I smoke. I smoke tobacco. I smoke my plastic tip cigars. So of course I can't judge my wife for smoking because I smoke, right? I can't. We're on the same page there. But that's what I'm saying, though. How can if I didn't exercise? I run 2 miles a day, 5 days a week. But if I didn't exercise, how could I say I love myself? Right? If I didn't read my scripture every single day and got the word of God implanted into my spirit, how can I love myself? So how would I love my wife more than I love myself? Because Christ doesn't say love your wife more than you love yourself. He said love your wife as Jesus loved the church. He says love people as you love yourself. So if I'm supposed to love my wife as I love myself and all I do is smoke and hurt my body, I don't exercise and eat poor food, I don't spiritually build myself up, I don't read books to build myself up, how am I loving myself? And then how does that transfer to loving my wife? So the next time someone says, oh, I love you, ask them if they love yourself. Because if they don't love themselves, they're not going to love you. The problem with men in society today is that they're lost. They don't love themselves. So that's why they can't love their children and they can't love their wives or their mates. And no one's saying this you got a couple guys out there that's doing the right thing. You know what I mean? Dr. Miles Monroe died back in 2016. So, we definitely need more of him. But you don't have this. This is a movement. This is not something that's part-time. This is a movement. Fathers have to be great for families to be great, for women to be great, for children to be great. Anybody tells you anything else, they're lying to you. Anybody tell you that your family or your community is going to be great when men are still sitting on the sidelines, they're lying to you. Do not befriend that person. Do not give that person time in your life. That guy is lying to you. The best thing that happened to your family, the best thing that's going to happen to your community, your country, and to this world is making fathers great again, teaching men how to love themselves by first searching for the Lord, seeking after God, and then seeking after wisdom and understanding like silver and gold. No ship, no team, no structure was great without leadership. God gave the earth leadership inside of the male form. If the male form is disfigured, nothing else can be great. Nothing else can be on course. We have enough women doing their jobs. It's time to do ours. Make fathers great again. My name is Justin Austin, your humble servant. I love you. Be blessed. Next week.
You've been listening to The Voice of Young America with Justin Austin. The Voice of Young America relies on committed Americans like you to stand with us. If you're frustrated with the lack of real information being delivered to the next generation, then support Justin's efforts. Connect on social media, online at thevoiceofyoungamerica.org. Email thevoyatampabay@gmail.com. And be sure to join us next Saturday evening at 6 for the Voice of Young America here on AM 860. The Answer.